test. You can hear it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Over the Top Rope Live here from Beercade in Edmonton, Alberta, with Over the Top Rope Live Zone, Spencer Love and Chris Parrish. Dun, 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 dun. Go ahead, guys.
That's cool. We've never been introduced before.
I know.
That's a new one for us.
A little bit.
You got a bit of the introduction experience last time. You were here for the inaugural edition of OTTR Live here with not only Mike the ref, producer Mike now. Very excited. Mike, thanks for doing this for us. We look prettier than we normally do.
Mike the producer.
Well, if I want to keep you guys pretty, I'm going to keep you here in the small screen, so let's just move it over there. But we got a hell of a card coming up. It hasn't been really advertised a lot because of the show in Saudi Arabia, which I don't want to name.
Well, as it shouldn't be. Like, let's get real here. The card's looking solid. We're going to talk a lot about that. Very excited to be here at Beercade YEG to do so, the home of Edmonton professional wrestling. But Mike, as you said, it's an underhyped event. It's one that really, I don't understand why it would be hyped. It's a great card, but not really a lot of great storylines going into it. It's sort of bleh. I don't really have a better way to put it.
History does show that these are the events that will absolutely open your eyes, so you wanted to check it out. These are the kind of shows that make you, I don't know if I want to watch it, but if you do, they tend to be a lot better than the other ones, simply because they're going to blow your expectations out of the water, simply because A, you don't have any, but B, they're also going to make sure that if they do a second Stomping Grounds, that you want to make it something. Just like they did with Roadblock, and just like they've done it with past pay-per-views for the first time.
We are, of course, still waiting for Great Balls of Fire, too. However, not here to talk about that. Parrish, great matches on the card. Lots on the pre-show. Mike, where do you want to get us started on this week's edition of OTTR Live?
Well, let's start off with the Cruiserweight Championship match between the champion Tony Nese defending against Drew Gulak and Akira Tazawa.
You start her off, man.
Well,
this is sort of your style of match.
My style of match? No, it's really not. I'm more about the women. I think this match is going to be underappreciated. Mm-hmm. And I think this is going to be one of those matches where I personally hope to God that this is Drew Gulak's ceremonial match where he becomes the Cruiserweight Champion, because I think that guy is money at the 205 show. I think Tony Nese had his moment at WrestleMania, but can we honestly name a moment that he's made that show better? I can't say anything. He's been a boring champion. If it was up to me, Drew Gulak, new champion. That's what I hope. And I really hope I get what I want.
WWE's been showcasing him a ton lately, and like you mentioned about Tony Nese, Akira Tazawa walked into SummerSlam, was it 2 or 3 years ago, as the Cruiserweight Champion, ending Neville's reign, admittedly losing that match, but he sort of had his moment. Tony Nese had his moment at WrestleMania. I love the guy as a wrestler, but, you know, like a lot of these matches we'll talk about, I don't think that there's been a great story going into it, despite the fact that 205 Live is probably one of the 2 best shows as far as wrestling content goes from the WWE right now. But I think that Drew Gulak is a guy who's appeared not only on 205 Live, but now on NXT. He's sort of coming across a couple of brands now and being showcased well. Yeah. He's a guy I could see becoming the new Cruiserweight Champion after tonight's WWE Stomping Grounds. For those who are interested in coming and checking it out at Beercade YEG, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time is the start of your pay-per-view, 5 p.m. Thank you very much,
Monday,
Chris.
5.
But it's going to be a blast. $4 menu items, $4 drinks, a couple of cleverly named menu items, which is always fun for me. But that's because I have very low standards of entertainment, which is perhaps sometimes why I do watch WWE.
All right.
I digress.
Enough of your cheap plugging here. Let's get on to our next matchup here.
Says the guy with no hair.
We're going to have the New Day in Big E and Xavier Woods taking on Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
I love it, man. I really hope that this isn't another opportunity to use Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as cannon fodder, for lack of a better way to put it. I think that having Kofi Kingston as your WWE champion, it allows the tag team side of the New Day to take a couple more losses, because at the end of the day, it'll sort of even out. The New Day will come out of an event looking strong because Kofi will come out of it looking strong. So I think that this is an opportunity to reestablish both Owens and Zayn in a way that, yes, they've both been doing great work, and I think they've been recognized for their great work, but I don't think they've really been recognized as a threat since either of them returned.
Yeah. Based on that logic, Big E probably gets the win.
100%.
Yeah, so I honestly just can't see Big E lose in his first real match since coming back from injury. Unfortunately, it'll be on the expense of a Sami Zayn, who I think is just white hot with his promos as of late. And I think, honestly, right now, this is a position where I kind of didn't want Sami Zayn to be a part of, because I think he is doing a lot better work than what is being showcased right now.
Yeah.
And I think for the first time in their career, I'd rather watch Sami Zayn than Kevin Owens.
Really, the first time in your career?
In the
And that's
WWE
not okay.
portion.
That's fair.
Let me clarify that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think Zayn, like you said,
Sami Zayn also wasn't ever on the Indies. He came out of nowhere.
that's completely fair. He appeared like man in the mist. I didn't really have a good analogy lined up for that one, and I apologize to you viewers for having to listen to that.
I'm just curious to see if this and the championship match later have any continuity with each other, because if it does, I'm going to say right now, I can see New Day picking up the tag team win, but I can also see a change in that heavyweight championship.
Well, maybe let's jump around a bit. Mike, I want to talk about the WWE Championship match that will be taking place in the steel cage.
How dare you throw things around on me here? Seriously.
I know you've got your beautiful graphics all lined up and ready to go, but
All right, well, let's get
changed stuff.
Healthy, because we're going to toss all of them salads around today.
All right, well, let's get to it, folks. Dolph Ziggler challenging Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship in a steel cage. Guys, your thoughts?
A steel cage. I love any cage match. You could throw like a rag doll with a balloon in a steel cage. I'd love to watch them fight, man. Steel cage matches, quite possibly my favorite stipulation of all time, because unlike a Hell in a Cell match, for me, I like the more realism to it. You never get locked in a cell in any sort of other street fight. I love the realism of a cage. I love the rawness of a cage. So, and I think for something like this, where, you know, to me, it's let's get this out of the way early. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Kofi Kingston's going over here. But Dolph Ziggler has been putting on some absolutely fantastic work since he came out and launched that surprise attack on Kofi Kingston. I absolutely love what he's doing over the last couple of months, despite the fact that we did not watch the first match of this series. I think that this one is going to be an absolute barn burner. Lots of room to play with.
Speaking off camera here, let me throw something out at you. With the fact that a lot of people didn't watch that first competition between these two, do you think that might actually help a lot of these feuds going on?
I think for the match tonight itself, 100%. I think that going into it, it does take away from a little bit of the anticipation for what's going to be a great match. I mean, even just seeing clips of what happened at the event that shall not be named, which from this point on will be referenced as the Voldemort event, we didn't really get a chance for the WWE Universe, proverbially, to see what these two guys can do in a singles match. And the clips that I've seen, they looked like they were fantastic, looked like they put on a hell of a show. So, yeah, I'm excited for the match tonight. And for a lot of people being a first-time ever match, hell yeah, they should be excited.
You do realize that Dolph Ziggler has pretty much beaten Kofi for all other single titles in WWE.
You saw my air quotes there.
Even WWE.com has exposed this information.
Okay, you know what?
Everyone, so,
don't work yourself into a shoot. When it works, it works, brother.
it's always a shoot for me, man. But no, I mean, I think a cage match is the perfect time to change his title under Dolph Ziggler right now. And I'll explain why, because Kofi Kingston does not take a loss. He does not take a pin or a submission. Dolph Ziggler can flat out escape the cage, and he doesn't have to beat Kofi Kingston to become champion. Therefore, he doesn't prove anything to Kofi Kingston. He was just able to outsmart therefore, I think this is the perfect match that if you were thinking about a title switch, you do it. I don't think they will, but I really hope they think a little outside the box tonight and they actually develop this storyline, because I think they can go at least 2 more months, at least.
I don't disagree with you.
And I think Kofi Kingston can get it back.
Here's the question I'll pose to the both of you. Who is going to do a stupid aerial stunt off the top of the cage?
Xavier Woods.
Okay. A wild card pick, producer Mike?
Well, I mean, we were talking about the previous match, which is not going to happen unless for the wild card.
Oh, excuse me.
Why can't we have wild cards at Stomping Grounds?
It's going to be Kofi. We all know it's going to be Kofi, and let's just face it. This is going to be his Royal Rumble spot for the month of June.
Yeah, let people remember what he can do in January.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but let's not be fooled. We all know about what he's done in the Royal Rumble. Dolph Ziggler knows what he does in the Royal Rumble. This could be one of those times that Dolph Ziggler outthinks Kofi Kingston and uses that past to possibly outsmart him and become the new champion.
I'd love it. I don't see it happening, and purely on the fact that I think Kofi Kingston has had a fantastic reign as a WWE champion. And for me, there's no reason, we referenced earlier in the show about the Akira Tazawa Neville situation and that 1 week title change in there. That did absolutely nothing but, at least to me, drag down the value of what the two of them were doing. It sort of invalidated, like, to me, in any sport, longevity and that sort of thing are so cool for me. So when you've got a chance to have a longest reigning cruiserweight champion, which Neville still is, let's not fail to point that one out.
But I'm going to retort with just 2 quick points. We're also talking about a company that also took the tag titles off Bayley and Sasha Banks before they can get started. And they also give Charlotte Flair titles just because it's Charlotte Flair and to make her the next Rick.
Absolutely, but
if nobody knows about Stomping Grounds and Kofi Kingston is one of your biggest acts right now, especially with the crowd and the relationship, this could get you talking about it moving forward, and they might actually think about doing it.
Well, speaking of one of the people in your discussion there, let's move on here to our next match before we go to a commercial break. The SmackDown Women's Championship with Bayley defending against Alexa Bliss with Nikki Cross in her corner.
wild card.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, realistically, Alexa, as much as we think she's a Raw competitor, she hasn't actually. She's worked a couple Raw matches since.
Here's my
the brand
issue.
split. Either way, go ahead.
Here's my
Spencer.
issue. The biggest issue I've got with the wild card is it just seems like, those people who try and please absolutely everybody and end up pleasing nobody. That to me is like what the wild card rule would be personified, because there's a lot of people who don't want the brand split to end. Even personally, I'm one of them. But for me, if you're going to end the brand split, let's just end the brand split, excuse me. Cut it off, kill it, and let's have people appear across both consistently, because now even with the wild card, where off the bat, even in the episode it was announced off the bat, it was 3 competitors from Raw and 3 competitors from SmackDown, and then it became 4 because Lars Sullivan gave an intimidating look, and then what was it, like 8 or 9 wild cards appeared on Raw last week?
Well,
It's egregious. It is
Kevin
insulting.
Owens has flat out said already he doesn't get it, and
As he should.
I think the fans are the same way. Right now, I think the main thing I have an issue with is the fact that Alexa Bliss is a Raw superstar, Bayley is a SmackDown Live superstar, but the Raw superstar is getting a title shot, but at least somebody like an Ember
Championship
Moon
opportunity.
sitting at catering, which makes no sense.
And one of the most talented women in the world, 100%.
Well, either way, this is the match that we got here. What do you think's going to happen here?
I think Nikki
shit.
Cross is going to cost Alexa Bliss, whether it's
By hook or by crook.
Yeah, I think eventually she'll end up costing Alexa Bliss the match, and we might see an Alexa Bliss Nikki Cross situation, because I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley and Charlotte Flair end up doing something after the show.
Yes and no. I don't think that it's a smart decision at this point to take a championship off Bayley when she's finally...
I'm not saying you take it off. I'm saying Bayley retains, but I think Nikki Cross accidentally costs Alexa Bliss the match.
Okay. I don't think there would be any sort of accidental costing. I think you're going to see Nikki Cross interfere a ton. I think what's going to happen is you'll see a dirty finish, and it'll set up a tag team match next month. Let's say, just to pull a name out of a hat, Naomi's going to make the save for Bayley.
Possibly returning Sasha Banks.
I wish, but they're not going to return Sasha Banks at Stomping Grounds.
You never know.
Oh, I know.
All right, kids. Well, with that, I think it might be a good time to take our first commercial break. I want to thank our sponsors, and here are a few plugs for our upcoming podcasts.
Plugs.
We will come back here we're going to give it about 4 minutes here on the.
One he needs.
Just remember, you can check out Beercade, 105th Street, 182nd Avenue, and $4 menu items, $4 beers. Bear's holding up a beer, even though you can't see it right now, but that's okay. We're going to head to our commercial break here and thank some of our sponsors and advertisers.
Hey, do you have a moment? Perhaps you're sitting at your cubicle, daydreaming, staring out the window. Maybe you're at home, TV droning on in the background as you flip through social media. Maybe you're at the airport. Have somebody coming up to you going, "We'd like to talk to you for a moment about our Lord and Savior." You can tell them, "No, thank you. I have a moment with Maniac." It's right here on the Win Column Sports Network. Come listen to it as I talk about wrestling pay-per-views, as I talk to other wrestlers in the Alberta indie scene, and I talk about pretty much whatever comes to mind. I have no agenda. I have nothing. I just have a moment to entertain you. Tune in.
Hello friends, this is Spencer Love, the host of Conversations with Love, the exclusive one-on-one interview series sweeping the nation, or at the very least, the great province of Alberta, Canada. Tune in weekly to Backbreaker Media, a proud member of the Win Column Sports Network, as I host a member of the independent wrestling community here in Alberta, or wherever the hell I feel like interviewing somebody from. You can only find it on Backbreaker Media, a proud member of the Win Column Sports Network, and proudly sponsored by Beercade YEG.
Well, this is Chris Parrish.
And Maniac.
And if you want to hear a podcast that's a little bit of all right,
And Strugglelicious.
yeah, and if you want to get involved with everything that is pro wrestling, everything that is, NHL, NFL, NBA,
Nah, not really, but a little bit of that and baseball.
yeah, ball sports,
Ball sports!
then come to Backbreaker Media, which is a division of Win Column Sports Network, and listen to the sounds of struggle.
Sounds of struggle!
And let me tell you this, if you're not into the sounds of struggle, then guess what? We don't care, because we only like the people that listen to us.
That's true. And listen to that. We're out of time.
So, on top of that, we say later, bitches.
Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 3,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 100 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following advertisement is sponsored by Beercade YEG. Hello, you are listening to a commercial for the podcast Over the Top Rope, the flagship podcast of the Win Column Sports Network, as well as a proud member of Backbreaker Media. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Beercade YEG. You can find us pretty well anywhere that podcasts are played, including on the iTunes, Podbean, the Google Play, SoundCloud, and on wincolumnsports.ca for all your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of professional wrestling. Tune in every Friday on Backbreaker Media, a member of Win Column Sports. The following advertisement is sponsored by Beercade YEG. Hello, you are listening to a commercial for the podcast Over the Top Rope, the flagship podcast of the Win Column Sports Network, as well as a proud member of Backbreaker Media. Again, this podcast is sponsored by Beercade YEG. You can find us pretty well anywhere that podcasts are played, including on the iTunes, Podbean, the Google Play, SoundCloud, and on wincolumnsports.ca for all your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of professional wrestling. Tune in every Friday on Backbreaker Media, a member of Win Column Sports.
All right, folks, we are back with Over the Top Rope Live covering WWE Stomping Grounds from beautiful Beercade YEG here in Southside Edmonton. Guys, this is a fantastic facility here that we're at. You want to talk about it a bit?
Beercade is actually Latin for House of Beer. Founded in 1793 here on White Avenue in Edmonton, Alberta. They actually installed their first arcade game, a wooden version of Connect 4, in 1799.
Okay, can you tell us something true about Beercade?
I don't know, you're putting me on the spot. But either way, $4 menu item, $4 beverages here at Beercade YEG, the home of Edmonton professional wrestling, and a ton of independent professional wrestlers here from the Edmonton community, like this guy right here, Chris Parrish.
Even though they can't see him on camera as we're watching pictures of Beercade right now.
It's all on the camera over here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
You're
think
throwing
that's
us
a
off.
production issue then.
But Spencer, you want to talk about some interviews that are coming up this week?
Oh, 100%. I want to talk about some interviews coming up this week. Very excited after last night's PWA Night of Champions to get in a quick conversation with Braden Parsons, former PWA Tag Team Champion and member of the league.
Former?
You don't need to get in there. Former? Yes, former.
Oh, wait.
Back off.
Just want to remind
Mike
the
wants to get in there. He'll get in there.
Yeah, let's do this. Mike wants to ask me my opinion, but let's hop right in the middle of it.
But we got three other interviews
You're
that are
for a reason. But either way, Braden Parsons very happy to talk to him after, of course, their fantastic match against the PWA Tag Team Champion Above Average Joes last night in Edmonton, Alberta. Coming up tomorrow. On Wednesday, we've got a double dose of interviews. Very excited to head to both the west and east sides of Alberta. Talking to both the Vix and Jade out of Thrash Wrestling in British Columbia. Also talking to PCW. I'm getting all of them confused because of PWA. PCW Canadian Champion Jay Walker. That one was unreal. Great guy to talk to. That one's coming out as well on Wednesday. And then this Friday, an exclusive edition of Conversations with Love on the Win Column Sports Network. Gursinder Singh. Very excited to talk to him, a former member of the Desi Hit Squad in Impact Wrestling. Recently requested and received his release from Impact. So great conversation with him. Lots of big things coming up his way. But talked about all of the things in the past, starting in Alberta as Tony Cage is released from Impact and more, all coming up this week on the WCSN. But now, Mike looks like he's itching to get back to our preview of Stomping Grounds. So, Mike, I'll throw it back to you.
We got a lot of matches to cover here, so let's get back at her here. And, of course, everything decided to go out of order on my screen here. Never fails. Well, let's go to the first non-title match that we have left on our list here. And that it is an absolute doozy here, with Roman Reigns taking on Drew McIntyre. I got a feeling this one you could classify as stiff.
Yeah, this one will hurt a lot of people, but not less let's get real here. It's at least a step back for Roman Reigns after his brutal affair with Shane McMahon last month. I think that at the very least, Roman Reigns is wrestling someone other than a 50 to 55-year-old man, and either way, that is a step up.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a awesome pun, but I'm going to call your face gay right now because
Hey.
stay straight. When you talk about Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon, there we go. That was clever.
That was rude.
It
That was rude, and
a
I
little
don't
bit, but it
approve
was
of
funny.
it.
Clever. But I think this is going to be, like Mike said, a hard-hitting match. I think Drew McIntyre is in a position right now where he needs this win more than anything. I don't think Roman Reigns is in the position where a loss hurts him. Drew McIntyre, he lost this match at WrestleMania.
Which he shouldn't have, I even think,
No.
at that point.
So I think this is a perfect time for him to get the win. I think Shane McMahon is going to have something to do with it. And I think Drew McIntyre as Shane's bodyguard, which makes no sense because why would a McMahon need a bodyguard in WWE? But I think this is a match where Drew McIntyre gets the win, 1-2-3 on Roman Reigns, and we see the development of the Shane McMahon-Roman Reigns feud.
I'm really hoping as well, like you talk about Shane McMahon interfering, I think that that's all but guaranteed, man, but I would really, really love to see a clean win here for Drew McIntyre. To me, since he left his partnership with Dolph Ziggler even, he's lost a bit of steam, and I think a lot of that has been because of the people he's been affiliated with, whether it be Baron Corbin, a Bobby Lashley, and now a Shane McMahon. I think that all three of those guys, while talented in their own rights, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the three of them, but, you know, they've got their places, I think, respectively. I think that aligning a guy like Drew McIntyre, who to me is an absolute star, even in comparison to those guys, it's silly for him to not only be aligned with them, but sort of be seen as the subservient figure or for me, I think a Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre feud should be all about who the dominant wrestler is, not about a Shane McMahon storyline or be a side piece to the feud with the goddamn Authority again.
What I don't understand is you're pushing Drew McIntyre as a Scottish psychopath, but how many psychopaths have friends?
Or bosses.
Yeah. Like, they don't listen to anyone. So,
Folks, ignore the people that are on the camera to the right right now. So never mind. Sorry.
right, left, wrong.
Back off. That's mean. You're mean as a producer.
It's fun being a producer. Come on now.
Fair enough. But either way, Paris, back to your
had
thought.
to give him the job, didn't you?
It's okay. The good Spencer giveth, and the good Spencer taketh away. I think that Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, to get back to it, is going to be an absolute barn burner. Like you guys mentioned, I'm hoping for a clean win. I think regardless of clean or not, we're going to see a Drew McIntyre victory. And let me tell you, it is a victory that is much needed for the Scottish psychopath.
We don't. This is going to be one of our first times here on Over the Top Rope Live, but we got a viewer sending in a prediction here. Let's go to it. I think he's one of your favorites, Parrish. Mr. Sean Martins.
He has a small dick.
Hey, be nice.
He's calling it right now.
PG channel.
I'm calling it now. Drew wins after a surprise. Drew wins after a surprise run-in by Heath Slater.
I'd love it. And let me tell you, Sean Martins, if that ends up occurring, next round's on this guy when I see it. That'll be an absolute blast.
Maybe this is the reason why he wins, heavyweight titles in bad companies. I don't know.
Ouch.
I mean, I'm just going to say one thing. I think the Revival, I think the Usos are going to get involved in this, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the glorified cluster, you know what. I hope the Revival, I hope the Usos do get involved because anything involving those two teams is amazing.
Mike, are those what we're going to talk about next? Revival Usos?
Absolutely. Actually, Revival Usos aren't on the card. What a shock.
Really?
Yeah, no, there's no...
who would have thought?
For some reason, there's a couple belts that are missing off this. We'll talk about that at the end here.
They're cummerbunds. Belts go around waists.
I'm just kidding. In WWE, they're belts.
Shut up, both
they
of
don't
you.
make them mean anything.
Anyway, coming up next, we will talk about some tag team titles, but it's going to be the team of Daniel Bryan and Erick Rowan defending against Heavy Machinery.
This will be fine. I would like to talk about the next match, please.
Parrish.
I kind of want Heavy Machinery to go over.
excuse me, that's what the YOLO County Tag Team Champion Heavy Machinery. Guys, I think that says everything I need to say about this being a match. Look, tag team wrestling and comedy wrestling, or whatever you would like to call Heavy Machinery, I'll even admit off the bat, like, they've done a lot better on the main roster than I ever even thought they would have. But they're just not my thing. And I think that putting them in contention with, like, man, let's get real here. To me, Daniel Bryan is, like, one of the greatest of all time. And I think having a feud like this, when you already know you're on borrowed time with a guy like that, I want to see him always. Whether there's anyone else that gets booked like crap for the rest of their careers, I'm talking to everybody, excuse me.
Work the hard cam, brother.
Sorry, I'm not a professional wrestler. But I think that any...
Even we have issues with that.
Anyway. But for me, I think that when you've got borrowed time for Daniel Bryan, regardless of if he's cleared or not, there's a risk with everybody. But when you've got a guy who's already been taken out of contention for a number of years, you need to be able to let that guy wrestle the best of the best all the time. And is Heavy Machinery for me the best of the best? No.
Well, I mean, let's just throw this. The fact that Heavy Machinery is on a pay-per-view, but Gallows and Anderson aren't, makes me shake my head on everything about the booking direction in WWE, because I just don't understand why guys like Luke Gallows and why Carl Anderson aren't on a show, but you put stakes and weights on a pay-per-view. It befuddles me. If you want guys like Daniel Bryan to have good matches, why aren't you giving them good competition? And Heavy Machinery just aren't that.
I'd agree.
They will not win.
Oh, God, I hope not.
And with that being said, I think this is probably going to be their shortest match of the night, so you might as well just pick a next match, and we'll talk longer about it.
All right, Spencer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Spencer. Since you didn't want to talk about a match that you didn't want to talk about this match, I'm pretty sure this is a match you're going to want to talk about. It's for the U.S. title with Ricochet taking on Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I do want to talk about it a lot, but to me, and I think you and I have had this talk a ton about Ricochet, man, the guy's got the charisma of a wet carrot. I'm very, very happy that he's feuding with a guy like Samoa Joe, where at the very least, maybe Joe brings out a little bit more in Ricochet as far as his promotional skills go. But regardless of my personal feelings on the guy's charisma in the ring, I don't think there are many people, at least in the WWE, more talented than he is. So I really think that you're going to see an absolute barn burner of a match here. I really hope that Samoa Joe doesn't lose it here so soon after reclaiming the championship. What they've got going here, even with the sort of pseudo thing that happened with Rey Mysterio, I hesitate to say screw up because I think it may have been by design, but I really hope that Samoa Joe from this point on goes on a long dominant reign, because I think at this point the United States Championship needs someone with a long dominant reign. I'm calling it now. Rey Mysterio's son Dominic is going to be the one to take the United States Championship off of Samoa Joe. You can book it.
I seriously think that we need to start patent pending comments, because you just stole mine. Like, people on the internet are stealing my video that's gone viral today.
Hey. Jeez, put yourself over a little more, Mike.
You got to do that. I actually admire that aspect. Put yourself over at all costs. I'd be a hypocrite if I was against it. However, I think this is one of those matches where you're going to be very happy you tuned into this pay-per-view, because I think this is a potential match of the night. I do think Ricochet could be the 2019 version of the 1-2-3 Kid.
Oh. Very good wrestler gets pinned all the time.
No, but
Then starts taking drugs and acting all weird.
I don't know if that was truly the case.
I think a lot more people would be interested in his personal life if that was the case.
Hello.
Hey, you know what? I wouldn't even say that's true. Him and Casey Catanzaro are adorable. I think she's great.
I think there's a lot more about that
She's
relationship
great.
you'd want to at least get to know, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the U.S. title. And we're talking about Samoa Joe, who I said last month at Money in the Bank should be going on a long run with U.S. title. And that didn't happen, and we see where that went now. It made absolutely no sense to take the title off him then, and it still makes absolutely no sense to take it off him now. I think Samoa Joe is absolutely an MVP in the WWE roster right now. That guy can do anything and make it the best thing to watch at that time. I still think he should have beat Brock Lesnar, and I still think he's going to beat Ricochet and continue on as United States champion. I'd be interested to see if Dominic was the guy. I'd also hope to God that Dominic would be the guy that prevents Rey Mysterio from getting him down the line.
Martins, yeah, that's probably one of, 100%. He says like one night in China, Parrish.
Well, I think he might be the only guy who enjoyed that movie. And I don't mean the China part.
No, I think that it's going to be a great match. There's not really a lot of debating on that end, but a lot of that's on
the China part.
I think. Now, the one question I posed to you is, like, a lot of the time Rey Mysterio has been showing up on house shows, that sort of shit, taking him out with the chair. Do we see him interfere to give the proverbial rub to Ricochet, or do we see them align in some sort of iteration?
You know, it's WWE. If they don't want a guy to lose necessarily, they might actually have something like that happen where it's a DQ and Samoa Joe gets the win because of it. But I'm worried because if that's the case, what do they do with Ricochet moving forward? Because, yeah, you know, he might not have the best personality on the show, but in the ring, nobody's going to say anything negative about his ability. And you still want to see what they're going to do to make him a star, because that's the only way he's going to be anything.
Showcase it in the ring, 100%.
You got to at least do that. So my worry is if Rey Mysterio does get involved in this match, what direction that goes for Ricochet, because he is the young guy, he is a future talent, unlike Joe, unlike Rey Mysterio, who are older talents. So I wouldn't bet against it. My worry on is, you know, what they're going to do moving forward. Maybe it's a triple threat, but even then, I don't think that makes sense.
Fair enough. I think I've said all I need to say on that one. It's going to be a banger. Not much else you can say. Like, one of the best compliments I can give a match is watch this match, and it's definitely one of them. Dominic costs Rey the U.S. title and reveals his real last name is Guerrero. Sean Martins, please book if we ever start a promotion.
I'm holding you to that, Spencer. But let's move on to our next match here, and it's for the Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch taking on Lacey Evans.
Man, they are doing everything they can to cool Becky Lynch down, hey? What a terrible idea it is to run this match again. I could not get behind. And I preface this all, Lacey Evans is a hell of an athlete. She's got a hell of a backstory. I think as far as like her real life stuff goes, as far as her being a military personnel, she seems like a wonderful individual. I preface all of that with that. As a professional wrestler, I have not enjoyed the last couple months of women's wrestling, and she has been a large part of that. I think that watching her, like, what was it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago that they did that split screen interview with Becky and Lacey, and you watch something like that, man, and Becky is just heads and tails above Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans, to me, is the perfect example of someone who they call up too early from NXT, and I think that that's a problem that they have very rarely with someone, because I think that Lacey Evans, truly, like, the people who get called up too early, what's the best way to put it?
We saw a guy last night that I think that was the case of, in Sean Spears, Ty Dillinger. I think half the guys that get called up are being called up too early.
I disagree there, but either way, so where I'm going with that,
signed a 5-year deal, by the way.
It's very silly to me. Sean, I couldn't agree more, Mr. Martins. How has Vince not made her a babyface? Because she's a blonde who can talk angry.
Because HLA is not in 2019 storylines.
It's ridiculous to me that they're going forward with this as a feud still, purely on the fact that it's making everyone involved look bad no matter how much effort. And I will always clarify, I know that they're giving it a hell of an effort, but like, you can't turn this into a golden feud despite how hard everyone's working to make it so. It's not a very good feud. I think Lacey Evans has been completely outclassed in this entire thing. And moving forward, I would just love to see this done. I would love to see, this is the kind of match I would love to see some sort of interference in or something along those lines to move Becky Lynch on to her next feud.
I I agree with you in 2 senses where I believe that when you compare Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans on the microphone, it's not even close. Becky Lynch is a better promo.
100%.
When you compare their experience in the ring, it's not even close. Becky Lynch takes that. I can understand the whole, well, we want to put Lacey Evans in a position to get better. I completely agree, but that's what NXT is for.
I agree,
And
man.
if you didn't do that there, then you're really screwing up the talent by doing it then. Call Lacey Evans a Yesy Pugliarvi of WWE, if you will.
Always getting the hockey reference in, attaboy.
I mean, it's relatable. But with that being said, I mean, I think this would be the best time for someone like a Nia Jax
To come out in a
come
wheelchair.
back. Well, I mean,
She had double knee surgery. She's not back for a long
Samoan. She's
time. Yeah, that's
But, I
right.
mean-
she will heal in weeks rather
Yeah.
than years.
she's like, I mean, the only non-Samoan who can heal in a short amount of time is John Cena.
Triple H. That he was back relatively quickly.
But no, I
We'll
agree.
ignore that
I
one.
agree. There should be somebody next coming for Becky Lynch. There should be the last of this. And whether it's a bigger name, whether it's a surprising name, whether it's... Who cares? This needs to be the last match.
I'll ask you
Becky
real
Lynch
quick,
needs
one
to
quick
go
answer. Who do you think should be her next challenger? And let's go Raw exclusively because I don't want this to be a wild card effing thing again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have said Mickie James if she wasn't hurt.
Hey, I'm going to go with Naomi because that's a feud they haven't run. And whether it's two baby faces or not, I think they could run that very, very
Shayna
well.
Baszler. How about that one?
I wish.
That'd be
won't
interesting.
happen.
But guys, let's get to our last match, the main event.
Purportedly main event.
Reportedly main event.
Main eventer, sheriff, constable.
Not a Chris Jericho
Baron
approved
Corbin.
main event.
Well, no kidding.
Is Baron Corbin his title? Like, is he Baron Corbin or is his name Baron Corbin?
I
Because
don't.
Baron is an official title.
No, he's Burger Baron Corbin.
That's insulting Burger Baron. but-
Sheriff, constable of Raw, Baron
Well,
Corbin.
I think their product once has embarrassed Burger Baron.
Don't you dare! I love Burger Baron.
I'm not saying I-
However, Burger Baron Corbin is an entirely different story.
Your thoughts on this match? Let's get back on topic here. Let's wrap this up.
I mean, what is there to say? It's almost like WWE was like, okay, guys, here you go. We're going to give you Seth Rollins as a champion because we know you love him. And then we're going to throw him into the biggest pile of horse crap we possibly can, just as like almost to screw you. It's ridiculous to me.
Isn't it
Like,
ironic that both Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are in the same situation?
given
And
the
they're
worst,
together?
given the worst possible opponent, like
I mean-
it's frustrating to me because again, Baron Corbin is a guy who I think he's a very good heel. I think that he's effective where he needs to be, but is he someone who I want to see put in a main event picture this long, or is he someone I want to see have a couple of matches for a Universal Championship in this short amount of time? Absolutely not. I think that he's sort of sewered himself. I think this whole alliance between Corbin, Lashley, McIntyre has just made everybody all the more sad, both internally and externally. I think that you can evidently see their careers going to die.
And-
I
and
wish
Mr.
Burger Baron was sponsoring
I was
this.
going to
If
say,
anybody
Burger
can-
Baron, we are open to sponsorship. Feel free if you're watching this and you want to join.
Even if it's just like a burger, I'm fine with that.
Not as good as beer.
I'll take a free
They're
burger.
not as good as Beercade burgers, but we digress, right?
Yeah, they do sponsor us.
And Burger Baron doesn't sell beers, so...
That's fair, ipso facto.
Yeah.
But either way,
But the
man,
milkshakes are to die for.
And they bring all the boys to the yard, right?
That's right. They're better than
Yeah.
yours. I think
Sean
that-
Martins would know that.
I think that Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, man, is egregious, is upsetting, is very, very frustrating to me as a wrestling fan, is the opposite of something I want to watch in a main event, is a reason that I'm actually relying on going home early to do laundry tonight. It's an entire myriad of things, but number one, first and foremost, it is upsetting that Baron Corbin is in tonight's main event.
If you mix your reds and the whites, the end result could be watching Baron Corbin wrestle in a wrestling ring.
Just a bad mix of everything.
Yeah, and it leaves you really mad and unhappy about the experience. I think this is a perfect situation if you wanted to trade Samoa Joe and Baron Corbin. It would have been perfect on both ends. Seth Rollins, I believe will retain his Universal title. I think we're going to get a Brock Lesnar tease, perhaps in the form of Paul Heyman.
And one question about this match, and then we're going to wrap that up. Who's going to be the special guest referee for this?
I would love to see, the one rumor that I have seen going around that has been brought up is Becky Lynch. And I would love to see something along those lines. You talk about bringing their relationship into it. I think that'd be cool as hell. Outside of that, though, I don't really have an idea, which leaves me set up to be disappointed. I don't really have a clue. So I'm going to go with Becky Lynch. I think it's a cool theory. I also know how good Baron Corbin is at enforcing things. Not very.
Outside's telling us Scott Steiner should be the guest referee.
All right. But
then Baron Corbin's only got a 33.3% chance of winning.
all right. One last thing we got
Too much.
One last thing we got to discuss before we go, and that's the infamous 24/7 title. How many times is it going to change hands, and how many segments are we going to get tonight?
We're going to get 3 segments. There's going to be 1 title change per segment, except for the second one where it'll change twice. 4 title changes. R-Truth leaves with the 24/7 championship.
Parrish?
I think Drake Maverick gets it back.
You mean like post honeymoon?
Yeah, he's heading for divorce anyway. I mean, what else does he have to lose?
Ouch.
No, that's painful. But I think it's time we're about to wrap this up here, folks. Now, don't forget, we are down here at Beercade, 105 Street and 82nd Avenue. Stop by, come say hi, come see these 2 lovely mugs here as they're waving as I'm just about to get them off camera.
I've been in way too many conversations lately about me being ugly.
And that's going to wrap it.
Great hair day,
Maybe there's a common theme there, Parrish.
I am so
married,
glad.
I don't care.
I'm so glad I turned off the camera for them already. But folks, any last words, Parrish and Spencer?
Enjoy the pay-per-view. Head down to Beercade YEG. As Mike said, it's going to be a great time down here. We'll be here for the majority of the pay-per-view. Come join us for some $4 drinks and eats. It's going to be an absolute blast. If you can't join us here, join us every day this week as a new podcast drops on the Win Column Sports Network.
And you have a very special announcement coming up about this August. I'm
going to SummerSlam, but we're going to give those up on the next pay-per-view preview. Everybody can get those ones later.
Make sure you're checking out Extreme Rules, the next pay-per-view for WWE coming up in, I think it's 4 weeks, where we're going to have some exclusive news about what's going to be happening, because we got some exciting stuff coming up on SummerSlam weekend, right?
Lots going on. I'll close this out. Sean Martin's love the prediction of EC3 getting pinned for the 24/7 championship by R-Truth to close it out for the evening. It's a great championship. It's probably my favorite. We're going to have to start making predictions on that one per show, but thank you guys for watching. It's always appreciated. Mike, I'll let you close it out after Parrish says his sort of final words. But other than that, I am done.
Well, I think it's very important to thank Beercade for hosting us today, because they are very intrigued to the process of pro wrestling. They're very supportive, and that is what we're all about, is supporting pro wrestling. Come down, check it out, watch wrestling, hang out with us, bottoms up, with $4 drinks.
And
This is my time, Michael.
I can't put you over completely. Come on now. Keep going.
Jesus. He gets one viral thing and he thinks he's goddamn king here. And so come here, check us out. Make sure you support pro wrestling. Make sure you support Beercade. $4 drinks. I can't. Oh, I love that price. But please, whatever you do, like, subscribe to Win Column Sports.
As you should.
And everybody involved. And have a great day. Let's have some fun tonight, boys.
Well, one last thing. Anybody that comes down...
Great looking in the dark. Beautiful as Blake Cannon.
Oh, nice, Parrish. Anybody that comes down here tonight, make sure you tell them that Win Column Sports sent you and you saw the preview show. Because definitely the more people that see it, the more things we're going to be able to do for you here on the Over the Top Rope specials. So, but I guess that's going to wrap it up here from Beercade YEG. On behalf of Spencer Love and Chris Parrish, this is Mike Maloney saying thank you for joining us on Over the Top Rope Live. is always good.
I also think
We also, once we get going here, we'll get into a habit of just starting up the stream and then share it everywhere we can. Fuck, he's gotten some bad luck. Lost his job, lost his woman.
I think this is also
She's going back home.